Admiral Park Jino stood alone in the war room. The holographic screen before him showed a face that was not human. High Counselor Veth of the Galactic Council had blue skin, 4 eyes, and a smile that held no warmth. Behind Veth stood the flags of 100 alien species, all united under the Council's rule for 10,000 years. "You have 30 days," Veth said. His voice was calm, like a parent speaking to a foolish child. "Surrender your 3 outer colonies to the Hegemony Empire. Pay the tribute we have demanded. Accept your place in the galaxy. This is not a request, Admiral. This is how things are done." Park said nothing. He simply watched. "Every species learns this lesson," Veth continued. "Some learn it quickly. Some learn it slowly. But all learn it eventually. The strong take from the weak. The hegemony wants your colonies. The Council has approved their claim. You will give them what they want, or you will be corrected." The transmission ended. The room fell into darkness, lit only by the soft glow of Earth hanging in the window behind Park. He had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had hoped to retire in peace. He had hoped his children would never know war. He picked up his communicator and made a single call. "Wake everyone," he said. "It's time." 3 hours later, the leaders of Earth gathered in a bunker deep beneath the mountains of Korea. Presidents, generals, scientists, and admirals filled the room. Dr. Kang Tai-ho, the head of military research, stood at the front with a tablet in his hands. His face was pale. "They're not bluffing," Tai-ho said. "The hegemony has already moved 2,000 warships to the border of our space. They expect us to see this and surrender. Every other species has done exactly that." General Cho Hana slammed her fist on the table. She was small, but her voice filled the room. "And then what? We give them 3 colonies today. Next year, they want 3 more. The year after that, they want Earth itself. This is not about colonies. This is about whether humanity will ever be free. We cannot fight 2,000 ships," someone said from the back of the room. "Not openly," Hannah replied. "Not yet." Park raised his hand, and the room fell silent. He was not a loud man. He did not need to be. When Park spoke, people listened. "For 89 years, we have been part of this council," he said. "For 89 years, we have followed their rules. We stayed in our solar system when they told us to stay. We limited our fleet when they told us to limit it. We smiled when they called us primitive. We bowed when they treated us like animals. We did everything right." He paused and looked around the room. "And what did it get us? An ultimatum, a demand to surrender, a threat of destruction. They do not see us as partners. They see us as prey." Dr. Kang Tai-ho stepped forward. "Sir, if I may." He connected his tablet to the main screen. The image that appeared made several people gasp. Ships. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of ships. Hidden in asteroid fields, buried in moons, constructed in secret facilities far from any alien sensors. "We have not been idle," Tai-ho said. "For 89 years, while we smiled and bowed, we have been building. The galaxy thinks we have 300 warships. We have 3,000. They think our weapons are primitive. We have weapons they cannot imagine. They think we are weak because we have been patient. They are wrong." The room was silent. Then, slowly, General Cho Hana began to smile. "You clever old man," she whispered, looking at Park. Park did not smile. His eyes were heavy with the weight of what was coming. "I hoped we would never need these ships," he said. "I hoped the galaxy would learn to respect us without war. I was a fool. Peace is not given. It is earned. And sometimes it must be taken." A young officer raised his hand. "Sir, what are we going to do?" Park looked at him. The officer's name was Beek Sunwoo. He was 24 years old, fresh from the academy, full of hope and fear in equal measure. "We are going to teach the galaxy a lesson it will never forget," Park said. "We are going to show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The vote was taken. It was unanimous. For the first time in human history, the entire planet agreed on something. They would not surrender. They would not bow. They would not kneel. Park returned to the war room alone. He recorded a message that would be sent to every species in the galaxy. He sat before the camera in his simple uniform, his face calm, his voice steady. "To the Galactic Council and the Hegemony Empire. Earth has received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands. We have discussed your threats." He paused. "Earth declines. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not pay your tribute. We will not accept your rule. From this moment forward, a state of war exists between Earth and the Hegemony Empire. This war will not end with negotiation. This war will not end with compromise. This war will end when one side can no longer fight." He leaned forward slightly. "You have mistaken our patience for weakness. You have mistaken our kindness for fear. You have made the worst mistake any species can make. You have made humans angry." The message ended. It was transmitted across the galaxy at the speed of light. Within hours, every alien world had seen it. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Veth watched the message 3 times. Then he laughed. He laughed so hard that his advisors thought he might choke. "They declared war," he said between gasps. 300 ships against 2,000. One species against the greatest empire in the galaxy. They are not brave. They are simply too stupid to know they are already dead. But Ambassador Reloz, who had spent 5 years living among humans, did not laugh. He had seen something in Admiral Park's eyes. Something cold. Something patient. Something that did not fear death because it had already accepted it. "My lord," Reloz said carefully, "I think we may have made an error." Veth waved his hand dismissively. "The humans will be conquered within 60 days. Mark my words." Far away, on a ship called the Defiance, Captain Li Yuna received her orders. She read them twice, then looked up at her crew. "Prepare for jump," she said. "We're not going home to defend Earth. We're going to attack." The war had begun. The galaxy expected it to be short. They were wrong. War Marshal Dorn stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars slide past. Behind him flew 2,000 warships of the Hegemony Empire. Each ship was larger than anything Earth had ever built. Each ship carried weapons that could burn cities from orbit. His fleet had conquered 47 worlds. Earth would be 48. "How long until we reach human space?" he asked. 3 weeks, Marshal," his officer replied. Dorn nodded slowly. He felt no excitement. This was not a war. This was a chore. The humans had made a foolish choice, and now they would pay for it. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. On the Council homeworld, the great chamber was filled with aliens from 100 different species. They had come to watch the destruction of humanity. Large screens showed the Hegemony fleet moving through space like a swarm of metal insects. Smaller screens showed Earth, small and blue and helpless. Elder Myra sat alone in a corner. She was very old, even by her species' standards. She had lived for 900 years. She had seen many wars, and she had spent the last 30 years studying humans. "You should be celebrating with the others," a young diplomat said to her. Mira shook her head. "I have read human history," she said quietly. "I have read about their wars. I have read about their famines and plagues and disasters. I have read about how they survived all of these things. And I am afraid." The young diplomat laughed. "Afraid? Of those primitives, they have 300 ships against 2,000. They have one planet against an empire. What is there to fear? Myra looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. They do not know how to give up, she said. Every other species, when they are beaten, they accept it. They surrender. They move on. Humans are different. When you beat them, they get back up. When you kill their soldiers, more soldiers appear. When you destroy their cities, they build new cities. I have never seen a species like them. The diplomat shook his head and walked away. Myra returned to watching the screens. She hoped she was wrong. She did not think she was that far from the great fleets and the watching diplomats. Lieutenant Beak Sunwoo sat in his small cabin on the Defiance. He was writing a letter to his mother. He did not know if she would ever read it. Dear Mother, he wrote, I cannot tell you where I am or what I am doing. I can only tell you that I am thinking of you. Do you remember when I was young and I was afraid of the dark? You told me that darkness is just the space where light has not reached yet. You told me that brave people bring light with them wherever they go. I am trying to be brave now. I am trying to bring light. He stopped writing and looked out his small window at the stars. I do not know if I will come home, he continued, but I know that what I am doing is right. We did not ask for this war. We tried to live in peace. They would not let us. So now we will fight, and we will not stop fighting until it is over. He folded the letter and put it in his pocket. If he died, someone would find it. If he lived, he would burn it and write a happier one. The door opened, and Captain Lee Yuna entered. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a voice that could cut through steel. Lieutenant, she said, it's time. Sunwoo stood and followed her to the bridge. The Defiance was one of Earth's newest ships, fast and deadly. Around it flew 40 other human warships. They were not heading toward Earth. They were heading away from it. Where are we going? Sunwoo asked. Yuna smiled, but there was no joy in it. The hegemony thinks this war will be fought at Earth. They think we will sit and wait for them to come kill us. They are wrong. She pulled up a star map. It showed hegemony space, vast and sprawling across 100 systems. While their fleet comes to our home, we go to theirs. Their supply lines are stretched thin. Their colonies have weak defenses. They never expected anyone to attack them. They have forgotten what it feels like to be afraid. She looked at her crew. We are going to remind them. 2 days later, a hegemony supply convoy vanished. It was carrying food and fuel for the main fleet. 200 ships and 10,000 crew members disappeared without a trace. The only thing left behind was a message, broadcast on all frequencies. Earth remembers. War Marshal Dorn received the news with confusion. Surely this was a mistake. Human ships were primitive. They could not possibly have traveled so far so fast. They could not possibly have destroyed an entire convoy. Then a second convoy disappeared. Then a third. Then, on a colony world 3 systems away from the main fleet, alarms began to sound. Ships appeared in orbit. Human ships. And from those ships came soldiers. General Cho Hana led the landing herself. Her troops moved through the colony like ghosts, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. They did not come to conquer. They came to destroy. Fuel depots exploded. Communication towers fell. Military bases burned. And when it was over, Hana stood before a captured camera and sent a message to the hegemony. You wanted our territory, she said. Now we take yours. You wanted to make us afraid? Now you will learn what fear feels like. This is not a war you can win by destroying our fleet. This is a war that will follow you home. This is a war that will never let you sleep. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Veth received the reports with growing disbelief. This was not how wars were fought. Enemies were supposed to defend their homes. They were supposed to build walls and hide behind them. They were not supposed to attack. How is this possible? He demanded. Where did they get these ships? Where did they get these soldiers? No one could answer him. Ambassador Reloz stepped forward. His face was grim. My lord, I tried to warn you. The humans have been preparing for this for decades. They knew this day would come. They have been waiting for it. Then we will crush them. Veth shouted. We will send more ships. We will burn their planet to ash. And while you do that, Reloz said quietly, they will burn your empire from within. They are not fighting to defend. They are fighting to destroy. This is not a war, my lord. This is revenge. Veth stared at the screens, showing human ships appearing in system after system. He had expected this to be over in 60 days. Now he was not sure it would ever be over. Far away, Admiral Park Jin-ho received reports of the first human victories. He did not celebrate. He looked at the list of casualties. 400 human soldiers dead. 400 families who would never see their loved ones again. This is just the beginning, he said to himself. It will get much worse before it gets better. He was right. The war had lasted 2 months. 12 star systems were burning. The hegemony had lost 300 ships. Earth had lost 150. And there was no end in sight. Ambassador Reloz traveled to Earth under a white flag. His ship was small and unarmed, carrying only him and a crew of 4. As he approached the human command station, he saw the scars of battle everywhere. Broken ships floated in the darkness. Debris clouds stretched for thousands of kilometers. The humans had paid a terrible price to defend their home, but they had not broken. Admiral Park Jin-ho met Reloz in a simple conference room. There were no guards, no weapons, no threats. Just 2 beings sitting across a metal table, trying to find a way to stop the killing. Thank you for coming, Park said. His voice was tired but steady. Reloz nodded. I come with an offer from the hegemony. They are willing to end this war today. You keep all your colonies. You pay no tribute. The hegemony withdraws to its original borders. All prisoners are returned. It will be as if this war never happened. Park listened without expression. This is more than any species has ever been offered, Reloz continued. The hegemony has never made peace on such generous terms. They respect your strength. They acknowledge that they underestimated you. This offer is real, Admiral. Take it. Park was silent for a long moment. Then he asked a simple question. And then what? Reloz blinked. What do you mean? I mean, what happens next? We sign your peace agreement. We shake hands. Everyone goes home. And then, in 5 years, or 10 years, or 50 years, you come back. You find another excuse. You make another demand. And we do this all over again. That is how galactic politics works, Reloz said. Wars end in negotiation. Both sides make compromises. Both sides retreat. This is how civilized species behave. Park leaned forward. His eyes were dark pools that reflected nothing. We are not like other species, he said. We do not have a word for the kind of surrender you are describing. When Earth goes to war, we do not fight for advantage. We do not fight for territory. We fight until one side is destroyed. Reloz felt a chill run through his body. You cannot be serious. You would keep fighting even when you could have peace? This is not peace, Park said. This is a pause. A pause while you rebuild your fleets. A pause while you plan your next attack. A pause while you remind yourselves that humans are prey to be conquered. I am tired of pauses. I am tired of waiting for the next knife in our back. He stood and walked to the window. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. My grandfather was a soldier, Park said quietly. He fought in a war when he was young. Not against aliens, against other humans. He told me stories about that war, about men who fought in frozen mountains with empty rifles, about soldiers who charged tanks with grenades, about prisoners who starved rather than betray their friends. He turned back to Relos. Do you know what he taught me? He taught me that humans do not surrender when the cost becomes too high. We simply find ways to bear the cost. You are asking me to tell my people that their sons and daughters died for nothing, that we will give up now when victory is possible, because fighting is hard. Relos had no answer. Go back to your masters, Park said. Tell them that Earth rejects their offer. Tell them that this war will continue until the hegemony empire no longer exists. Tell them that they should have left us alone. Relos returned to the council homeworld with his failure heavy on his shoulders. He went directly to the great chamber where High Counselor Veth waited with the leaders of 100 species. What happened? Veth demanded. Did they accept? No, Relos said. They refused. They will not stop fighting. The chamber erupted in confused voices. This made no sense. No species had ever refused such generous terms. No species had ever chosen destruction over peace. Elder Myra stood slowly. The chamber fell silent. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear. I warned you, she said. I told you not to provoke them. I told you that humans are not like us. Now you see the truth. She activated a display screen. Images appeared from human history. Soldiers charging into impossible battles. Cities burning and being rebuilt. People starving but refusing to kneel. This species has been fighting since before they could write, Myra said. They fought each other for thousands of years. They fought diseases that killed millions. They fought their own planet when it tried to destroy them. And they won. Every single time they won. Not because they were stronger, not because they were smarter, but because they simply refused to stop. She turned to face the council directly. You thought you could frighten them into submission. You thought a show of force would make them bow. You do not understand. Humans are not frightened by death. They are frightened by slavery. They are frightened by living on their knees. You gave them a choice between fighting and kneeling, and they chose to fight. They will always choose to fight. War Marshal Dorn stepped forward. His face was hard. Then we will destroy them completely. We will burn their planet. We will kill every last one of them. You may try, Myra said, but I wonder how many of your ships will survive. I wonder how many of your soldiers will die. I wonder if the hegemony will still exist when this war is over. Dorn had no answer not far from the politics and the debates. Lieutenant Beek Sunwoo was learning what war really meant. His ship had been attacked 3 times. He had watched friends die. He had killed enemies with his own hands. He had nightmares every night and woke up every morning ready to fight again. After one terrible battle, he sat alone in the medical bay, bandaging a wound on his arm. Captain Lee Yuna found him there. You should let the doctors do that, she said. They are busy with soldiers who need them more, Sunwoo replied. Yuna sat beside him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Are you afraid? She asked finally. Every day, Sunwoo admitted. Every hour. Every minute. Good, Yuna said. Fear keeps you alive. The soldiers who stop being afraid are the ones who die. May I ask you something, Captain? Go ahead. Do you think we can win? Yuna thought about this for a long time. I do not know if we can win, she said honestly. But I know that we cannot lose. Losing means our children grow up as slaves. Losing means everything we love is destroyed. So we do not lose. We keep fighting until we win, or until there is no one left to fight. She put her hand on his shoulder. That is what it means to be human, Lieutenant. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not quit. We find a way or we make one. Sun Wu nodded slowly. He understood now. This war was not about ships or weapons or territory. It was about something much simpler. It was about the right to exist on their own terms. He finished bandaging his wound and went back to his station. There was more fighting to do. 8 months of war had changed everything. The hegemony empire, which had once seemed invincible, was cracking like old glass. Human ships appeared everywhere, striking without warning and vanishing before anyone could respond. And worst of all, the species that the hegemony had conquered were beginning to wake up. On a planet called Vora, the people had been slaves for 200 years. They had forgotten what freedom felt like. Then General Cho-Hana arrived with her soldiers. They did not come as conquerors. They came as liberators. We are not here to rule you, Hana told the Voron leaders. We are here to give you a choice. Join us and fight for your freedom, or stay and remain slaves forever. The Vorons chose to fight. Within weeks, they had formed their own military. Within months, they were attacking hegemony ships alongside human forces. And they were not alone. On planet after planet, slave species were rising up. The hegemony was burning from within. Dr. Kang Tai-ho stood before Earth's military council with news that changed everything. Behind him, a screen showed something that looked like a small sun. We call it Project Dawn, he said. It is a weapon that can collapse a star into a black hole. The explosion would destroy everything within 10 light years. The council members stared in horrified silence. We have built 12 of these weapons, Tai-ho continued. We hoped we would never need them. We hoped this war could be won with conventional forces. But if the hegemony pushes us to the edge, we will push back. We will destroy their home systems one by one until nothing is left. Admiral Park Jin-ho spoke quietly. This weapon exists only as a last resort. We will not use it unless we have no other choice. But the hegemony must know that it exists. They must know what we are capable of. The message was sent. The galaxy learned that humanity had the power to kill stars. Some species were terrified. Others were impressed. The hegemony was furious. War. Marshal Dorn gathered every ship he had left. 4,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. He would end this war with a single massive attack. He would crush Earth and prove once and for all that humans were not special. The fleet arrived in the now Sol system on a cold morning in December. Earth hung in space, small and fragile and beautiful. Around it circled 4,000 human ships, ready to defend their home to the last soldier. Captain Lee Yuna stood on the bridge of the Defiance. She looked at the enemy fleet on her screens. There were so many ships that they blocked out the stars. All hands, she said over the intercom. This is the captain speaking. You can see what we are facing. You can see how many of them there are. They have come here to destroy us. They have come here to make us kneel. She paused. They came here thinking we would be afraid. Show them what humanity does when our home is threatened. Show them that Earth does not kneel. Not today. Not ever. The Battle of Sol lasted 9 days. It was the largest and bloodiest battle in the history of the galaxy. Ships burned and broke apart. Soldiers died by the thousands. The darkness of space was lit by endless explosions. On the 3rd day, Lieutenant Beek Sunwoo saved Admiral Park's life. A hegemony assassin had infiltrated the command station. Sunwoo saw the weapon being raised and threw himself in front of the blast. The shot hit him in the chest instead of the Admiral. As medical teams rushed to save him. Park knelt beside the young officer. Why? Park asked. "Why did you do that?" Sun Wu's eyes were fading, but his voice was steady. "Because Earth needs you more than it needs me. Because someone has to survive to finish this. Because that is what soldiers do." He survived. Barely. The doctors said it was a miracle. Sun Wu said it was stubbornness. On the 6th day, the tide began to turn. Human ships, faster and more agile than the heavy hegemony vessels, cut through enemy formations like wolves among sheep. Every time a human ship was destroyed, its crew fought until the last breath. Every time a hegemony ship took damage, its crew tried to retreat. On the 9th day, War Marshal Dorn looked at his fleet and saw destruction. 70% of his ships were gone. The humans had lost 40% of theirs, but they were not retreating. They were not surrendering. They were still fighting. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Why won't they stop?" His officers had no answer, but the hegemony fleet retreated. They ran from the Sol system with human ships chasing them. They ran back to their own space, broken and bleeding and afraid. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Veth watched the battle reports with growing horror. This was not supposed to happen. The hegemony was supposed to be invincible. Humans were supposed to be primitive. Ambassador Relos approached him with news that made everything worse. "My lord, the slave species are revolting across the Empire. The Varans have taken 3 systems. The Kolari have destroyed their hegemony garrison. The Droth have declared independence. The Empire is falling apart." Veth's hands were shaking. "What do we do? What can we do?" "We surrender," Willows said simply. "We accept whatever terms the humans demand. We hope they are merciful." Veth sent a secret message to Admiral Park. He offered unconditional surrender. He would give Earth anything it wanted. He would bow and kneel and crawl if that would end this nightmare. Park's response was short. "We do not accept unconditional surrender. We accept total surrender. Dissolve the hegemony empire completely. Free all slave species. Destroy all military forces. Or we continue until there is nothing left to dissolve." Veth stared at the message. The humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to destroy everything the hegemony had ever built. In his small apartment on Earth, Relo stood by a window and watched human children playing in a park below. The city around them had been bombed 3 months ago. Buildings still showed the scars of battle. But the children were laughing. They were playing games and chasing each other and living their lives as if nothing had happened. The city was already being rebuilt. Workers were everywhere, fixing what had been broken. New buildings were rising from the ashes of the old. Relos had lived among many species. He had seen how they reacted to destruction. Most species would mourn for years. Most species would lose hope. Humans rebuilt. Humans laughed. Humans refused to let the darkness win. He understood now why the hegemony could not beat them. It was not their weapons or their ships or their tactics. It was something deeper. Something in their blood. Something that said, no matter how bad things get, tomorrow can be better. Far away, the hegemony government collapsed. Their military leaders demanded surrender to save what was left. The empire that had ruled for 1,000 years ended in chaos and fire. The war was almost over. But the galaxy would never be the same. The war ended on a quiet afternoon, 14 months after it had begun. The Treaty of Sol was signed aboard the UESIS Defiance, in the same conference room where Captain Lee Yuna had planned so many battles. Now it was filled with diplomats and leaders from across the galaxy. Admiral Park Jinho signed for Earth. What remained of the hegemony? Leadership signed for their dying empire. The terms were simple. The hegemony would dissolve completely. All slave species would be freed. All military forces would be dismantled. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years would cease to exist. "It is done," Park said as he put down the pen. But there was no joy in his voice. 847,000 humans had died in this war. He carried their names in his heart like stones. After the signing, Park addressed the Galactic Council. Every delegate from every species was present. The chamber was so silent that you could hear the soft hum of the air systems. 89 years ago, Park began, humanity joined this council. We were young and hopeful. We believed that the galaxy was a place of cooperation and peace. We believed that if we followed the rules, if we were patient, if we were kind, we would earn our place among you. He paused and looked around the room. We were wrong. For 89 years, we accepted every insult. We obeyed every restriction. We smiled when you called us primitive. We bowed when you treated us like animals. And what did it earn us? An ultimatum, a threat, a demand that we surrender or die. Several delegates looked away in shame. We learned a lesson in these past 14 months, Park continued. We learned that mercy without strength is an invitation for abuse. We learned that kindness without power is weakness. We learned that the galaxy does not reward patience. It rewards those who can defend themselves. He straightened his shoulders. So this is our promise to the galaxy. Humanity will be merciful. We will be fair. We will help those who need help and protect those who cannot protect themselves. But we will never be weak again. We will never again allow anyone to threaten our home and our children. And if anyone makes the mistake of attacking Earth, they will discover what the hegemony discovered. He let the words hang in the air. There is no surrender for humanity. There is only victory or death. Choose wisely when you deal with us. After the speech, Elder Myra approached Park. She moved slowly, her ancient body tired from centuries of life. Will humanity conquer the galaxy now? She asked. You have proven that you can. Your fleets are the strongest in the galaxy. Your weapons can kill stars. No one could stop you. Park shook his head. We do not want your worlds, Elder. We do not want your resources or your tribute. We want only one thing. What is that? To be left alone. To live in peace. To raise our children without fear. That is all we have ever wanted. But now the galaxy knows that we are willing to destroy anyone who threatens that peace. Myra nodded slowly. I think I understand you now. You are not conquerors. You are survivors. You fight not because you love war, but because you love life too much to let anyone take it from you. Yes, Park said simply. That is exactly right. Captain Lee Yuna was promoted to admiral after the war. She had earned it many times over. But when they offered her a position at headquarters, she refused. I want to stay on the Defiance, she said. I like this ship. It does not surrender either. She remained a captain, commanding the most famous ship in human history. Young officers begged to serve under her. She accepted only those who understood what the ship represented. Dr. Kong Tai-ho buried the Project Dawn, weapons in a secure location deep beneath the ice of Pluto. He hoped they would never be needed again, but he kept the designs safe, just in case. Some weapons should never be used, he told his staff. But some weapons must exist. The threat of destruction is sometimes enough to prevent it. General Cho Hana retired to a small farm on one of Earth's colony worlds. She had seen enough war for several lifetimes. Now she wanted to grow things instead of destroy them. She planted flowers in soil that had been a battlefield just months before. She watched them bloom in the warm sunlight and thought about all the soldiers who had died under her command. She hoped they would forgive her for surviving when they did not. Lieutenant Beek Sunwoo received the medal for bravery. He stood on a stage while Admiral Park pinned it to his chest. Cameras flashed. People cheered. Sun Wu felt only sadness. After the ceremony, he visited the memorial wall. It stretched for kilometers, covered with the names of every human who had died in the war. He found the names of his friends, the soldiers who had served beside him, the men and women who had laughed and fought and dreamed of peace. "I promise you," he whispered to the wall, "it was not for nothing. Your sacrifice meant something. We are free because of you." Ambassador Relos stayed on Earth after the war. He wrote a book about his experiences, titled The Species That Could Not Kneel. It became the most read book in the galaxy. In it, he warned future generations about the danger of underestimating humanity. "Do not mistake human kindness for human weakness," he wrote. "Do not confuse their patience for submission. They smile and they laugh, and they play with their children, and you think they are soft. You are wrong. Beneath that softness is a core of iron that has never broken. They have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. They have clawed their way up from caves to stars through sheer stubborn refusal to die. And whatever you do," he concluded, "never, under any circumstances, tell humanity that they must surrender. They will look at you with confusion in their eyes. And then they will teach you why their ancestors conquered a planet full of predators with nothing but rocks and fire and a determination that defies all logic." 50 years passed. The galaxy changed. New alliances formed. Old enemies became friends. The memory of the human hegemony war faded into history for some species, but not for others. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new crisis was unfolding. An aggressive species called the Mordrith had risen to power. They were demanding territory from a small, peaceful world called Salos. The Salosians had no military. They had no weapons. They had nothing but hope. "You will give us 3 of your moons," the Mordrith ambassador declared. "You will pay tribute every year. You will accept our rule. This is not a request." The Salosians trembled. They knew they could not fight. They knew they could not win. Then the human ambassador stood. Her name was Park Somi, the granddaughter of Admiral Park Chino. She had her grandfather's eyes. Calm and steady and absolutely without fear, she said only 4 words. "Earth remembers the hegemony." The Mordrith ambassador went pale. He looked at the human woman, then at the Salosians, then back at the human. "The Salosians are under Earth's protection," Somi continued. "Any attack on them is an attack on us. Any threat to them is a threat to us. Choose your next words very carefully." The Mordrith withdrew their demands within the hour. They left the council chamber without looking back. They never threatened anyone again. On Earth, children played in parks that had once been battlefields. Cities gleamed in the sunlight, rebuilt and beautiful. People laughed and loved and lived their lives in peace. But in every school, children learned the history of the war. They learned about the soldiers who had died. They learned about the sacrifice and the courage and the absolute refusal to kneel. And they learned the most important lesson of all. Peace is precious. Peace is beautiful. Peace is worth protecting, but peace is never free. It must be earned. And sometimes it must be defended with everything you have. Humanity had learned that lesson. The galaxy had learned it too. And no one would ever forget.